Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Monday. You know what today is Monday Morning Chats with Sack. Of course, Sack is me. I hope that you guys had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. Got a chance to buy some home decor. That's always a vibe. And did some decorating. And there's some other things that I'm doing. So, and hung out with one of my good girlfriends that I didn't see in a while. So that was good. And the one thing I will say with personal training is that when you make a decision to be consistent with your diet, with your meal plans, your mindset starts to change. And so I had to be realistic with myself. Even though I meal prep, I know sometimes when I'm out, I'm not bringing my meals with me, right? And so when I go to different places, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I know I can have this, but I don't like the toppings. I can get these removed. I know what kind of portions to have, right? It's all about portion control. And my girlfriend was like, well, what can you not have? I was like, well, I know what I can have for right now. Just want to make sure that I am sticking to the script and making sure that I can control it. And that's the hardest thing. Now, if we drive past Krispy Kremes, I have a weakness for Krispy Kremes. Like, it's real. But yeah, and so I'm really, really thankful for my trainer because it makes me think about things before I do it. Like, I can wake up today and say, hey, I want a big crab cake, I want lobster, and I can go out and get it. Like, I can actually go out and pay for it. But at the same time, I look at my meal plan and things that, is helping me with getting to the ideal weight that I want. That, hey, that may not be on the menu for right now. And so there is this inner fat girl in me that wants all these things, that wants the cookies, that wants the ice cream. And I know I can't have it on a consistent basis, but I know I can have it, but just not right now, right? And then when I do have it, it's about control, like really having control. So shout out to my trainer about that. But today, I'm going to talk about two things. How do you know that you feel well? Like, how do you know that you're doing good? Like, how do you know that you feel okay? And then the second thing is, no one talks about the grief you suffer from when you realize, like, your dreams never manifested. Or maybe you walked away from someone you love. Like, no one never talks about the grief that comes after that. And so I want to talk about those two things. And so for the first part, how do you know that you're doing well? Like, how do you know that you're doing okay? And yesterday for church, we had a guest speaker, and I forgot the doctor's name, but she was a doctor based in Atlanta, and we talked about mental health. So May is mental health awareness. I'm a big advocate of mental health. I'm a big advocate of going to therapy. You'd be surprised the things that we suppress, and the things that we suppress, it affects the relationships that we're in, whether it's platonic or professional, and it affects how we move about on an everyday basis. And so if you've never been to therapy, I challenge you to go. You'd be surprised. Like, if you realize, like, hey, why I keep doing these things that I'm doing. And sometimes they're learned behaviors. Some things that we do are learned behaviors. And it's things that our ancestors have done. And you have to really ask yourself, okay, is this healthy, right? Is this really healthy? And sometimes the things that we do on a consistent basis, they're not healthy. But we're so used to doing it that it becomes a natural habit. And we believe that it's normal. And most times it is not. And so how do you know that you are, you're okay? Like, how do you know that you're functioning? Because let's say you have high blood pressure. You take medicine to have it under control. But how do you know when you're depressed? How do you know when you have anxiety? Like, how do you know when you have these things? Like, how do you do self-reflection on yourself and realize, hey, I'm not feeling good today, or no, something's not right. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. I think one of the things for me, how I can determine if I'm doing okay or if I feel good, is based on my sleep, right? When I sleep, do I have worry? Like, am I worried about something? Now, don't get me wrong. You're human. You go through things. On average, if I had a good sleep, I'm pretty much doing okay. And then I think about my thinking throughout the day. Like, what am I thinking about, right? Yes, you have these nostalgic moments where you may think about different things. It could just be from, man, I never forget when I went on vacation. And that triggers you, and you may say, well, hey, I didn't have a vacation in a year. I think I need to go ASAP. And I'm not going to hold you. You know, most people did not go on vacation in the last 2 years due to COVID. And some people are still afraid to fly. And I know for me, I went on vacation last year in November. And I was like, yeah. So I've been thinking about all the times I went on vacation. That's triggering me to say, you know what? Yes, Akina, you need to get up and go. Like, you need to get up and do a vacation. But yeah, my sleep is important. My sleep is everything. Like, am I getting the 8 hours, 7 to 9 hours of sleep? How do I feel when I wake up? Right? Do I feel rested? Or if I'm up and I am like tired, I ask myself, what did I do the night before? If I'm working late and I know like I have to get things done, that makes sense. But if I didn't go to bed late and I wake up tired and I wake up anxious, I know that hey, something's off. Something doesn't feel right. I'm mindful of who I'm around because energy is important. So I'm mindful of the people that I'm around. Like I'm mindful of the spaces that I'm in because some people are energy vampires. They'll just suck the life out of you. But yeah, that's how I know that I'm okay. And then it's confirmed with my therapist. Like, it's confirmed on like, hey, like, you are okay. But how I confirm these with my therapist too is that I'm open. Like, I'm not afraid to say, hey, you know, this bothers me. Like, am I crazy about that? No, you're not. So, you know, you go through things and you realize like, hey, I'm still human, but I'm still okay. And so the doctor said on a 1 to 10, meaning like you're great, you're fine. On average, people should be feeling like an 8 out of 10, right? Like feeling good, right? Feeling good. And you should want to feel good. Like you should want to wake up and be happy with the person that you see. And if you ever have doubts about yourself, just turn on the news, right? You see people losing their life every single day. And so if you're able to wake up and you're able to have a new day, a new start, be grateful for that. Like, really be grateful for that because it's taken for granted. Like, I was looking at the news this morning. There was a shooting in California in a church. Forgot what city, but it was one person that died. Several people were injured. And then the Buffalo supermarket massacre. Like, 10 people died. A few people were injured. And that just shows you that life is too short. And so what makes me know that I'm okay is really just enjoying the moment, enjoying the minute. Like, I don't have to party all the time to enjoy life. I enjoy the simplest things in life. Like, and the things that we take for granted, like waking up, right? Waking up and knowing that, hey, I was able to see a new day. And when I go to sleep and I wake up again, that's another blessing. So, my sleep matters, right? I want to make sure that I'm well rested. So that plays a big part. And how I feel about myself, like how do I feel? You know, do I not care about my appearance? Like those things can let me know or can let anybody know, like whether or not you're feeling okay and do you feel good? And I feel good. So that is good. That is good. And so I think that the next part is, you know, no one talks about the grief that you deal with when you realize or know that the dream that you always wanted will never come true. Or walking away from someone that you love. Now, Talk to Spirit, I forgot her last name, but that's her name on Instagram. She is a therapist and she does like free advice Fridays. And there was a quote that she posted. It was a meme. It says, no one talk about the grief that you deal with after leaving a toxic person. Now, I don't like using the word toxic because to me, it's equivalent to poison. I don't think people are toxic. They may have toxic ways or they're just unhealed, right? So I'd rather just use unhealed. So let me talk about the first part, right? No one talks about the grief you feel when there's this dream that you always wanted and it just never comes true. Let me give an example. And I talked to my brother about this and I didn't know he struggled with this. So let's say that you were an athlete growing up. You did the little leagues as a child. Then in high school, you played the sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever sport it was, you started at a very early age. And everyone saw the potential in you, including your family. They're going to your games, they're rooting you on, they're telling friends of the family, like, hey, my niece or my nephew, they're going to make pro. They're going to the pros. And let's say you go to college, your coaches are telling you the same thing. And so you have it in your head that, hey, I know that I love this sport. I know that I'm good at this. And other people see it. Other people see that I'm good at this. Then when you go to college and you're playing this sport and you're doing very well, and you know that even though there is a small slot, there's an opportunity, but it's very small, that you may get selected to play pro, whatever the sport is. But you know that it's a small opportunity. Like, you know that it's there, but it's all up to the scouts to see your potential and to select you, right? Like, it's in their control now. And so let's say that you're working, let's say you're playing, and let's say that, you know, you go above and beyond, you hire a trainer to get fit and you're ready because you know that, hey, when the time comes, I'm going to do tryouts. And I'm going to try out for this team, wherever the team is, for this professional league. But let's say you get hurt your last year, you can't play at all, and that affected your ability to play pro. Or let's say that you did well all 4 years, you just never got picked. And people never talk about that feeling of not getting picked. Or let's say you get kicked off of a team because of your attitude or whatever it is. People never talk about that, right? And just imagine if there's something that you really wanted to do your whole, it's like you planned your whole life for this moment to go pro, whatever it is. And then you realize, damn, it didn't happen for me, right? It didn't happen at all. Like, I've been playing this sport since I was 5 years old. And the reason why this is important because, you know, growing up, I went to high school in Florida for 2 years. And most everyone I was cool with, you know, football, if you live in the South, football is a big thing. It is a big thing. I had one of my classmates tell me that his dad started training him when he was like 5 years old. He started lifting weights at 5 years old. His dad told him, hey, you're going to the leads and I'm going to push you. But he never made it to the leads, right? And so just imagine you having that pressure on you from your family, your close friends, and it doesn't happen. And so when it doesn't happen and reality checks in like, hey, shit, I'm not doing what I thought I wanted to do and what my family thought I wanted to do. And so now what family don't realize, and I think they do it unintentionally, is that sometimes, you know, you're trying to put a Band-Aid over that wound because you don't, you know, you're trying to allow it to heal. But sometimes family, being around them, they just take the Band-Aid off. Like, hey, remember you said you were going to go pro? Like, what's going on? What the coaches said? You know, and they keep bringing it up. And what they don't realize is that they're doing more insult to the injury, right? And so they don't know, right? They don't know how it's making you feel inside. Like, maybe you cover it up and you don't say anything. But while your family keeps bringing it up, it's making you think of yourself maybe as a failure. Like, damn, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Like, you keep thinking about this. And that can cause you to be distant, where you're like, you know what? I don't want people to remind me of my dream that I wanted so bad for myself that it never came about. And so you live in this, I'm not going to say guilt trip, but you live in this world where you're like, am I good enough? Am I a failure? Was I meant to do this? Was this a part of the plan? Why didn't it work out for me? I see other people on TV that we play for the same team. How did they get picked? But not me. Why do I feel this way? What's my plan B? That was my plan A. And it's during those moments where you question yourself. You ask yourself, like, damn, you know, am I good enough? Right? Am I good enough? And I see this a lot in a lot of athletes. Like, am I good enough? And years down the line, maybe you're doing well. You have a great job. You're doing well. But remember when you realized like it wasn't going to happen. And maybe sometime you had those nostalgic moments where you're saying to yourself like, man, I was like really good. And maybe you're replaying old film of you playing. And you're like, Dad, like I was really good, but it just didn't work out for me. Right? It just didn't work out for me. And that's grief. It's a loss of something. Knowing that you can't accomplish it, knowing that it didn't happen for you. That's still a grieving process. And sometimes, when things don't go people's ways, they can look at other things for comfort, right? Various things for comfort. But yeah, no one doesn't really talk about that. No one doesn't really talk about that grief that comes with that, because it is grief. I remember when I was in college, and I remember, we had orientation. I was excited. I already knew what my major was going to be. I knew I was going to be a political science major. And that's a myth about law school. So if you're interested in law school, you don't have to major in political science. I thought that you had to. And so I came with the idea like, hey, I got to be a poli-sci major, and that's it. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my major, really did. But if I had the chance to do it all over again, I would have majored in math, because I like math. So I remember in college, and I remember in orientation, where there was so many girls in my incoming class, and even the subsequent year, I went to major in nursing. Like, they had their heart set on nursing. Like, I want to be a nurse, right? And in order for you to get accepted in some majors, you had to have a certain GPA. So you had to take your prerequisites. And in nursing, you had to have certain classes before you get into the nursing program. And I remember, like, some of my colleagues, they had to take A&P. Human biology, that was kind of easy. But A&P, that's a little difficult. Chemistry. And after those classes, after their first year, they failed the class, and they were like, nah, I can't do this anymore. And sometimes you go through experiences that make you realize, like, hey, this is not for me. Or sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit. You don't push yourself. And when you don't push yourself, it's easy for you to say no. It's easy for you to just say, walk away and say, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm going to take an easy route. And that's what I witnessed. Most of my colleagues saying they wanted to major in nursing. They took that one AP class and it smacked them. And they received maybe like a D or maybe an F. They had to retake the class. And then they realized, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something easier, right? And easier meant, this is no shade, but deciding to major in social work, because that was the easier degree. That was the easier major in college. Like, I'm going to just do social work. And so it makes me wonder, like, for some of those people that did that, if you really wanted to be a nurse and you didn't, and you're in this other profession, remember how it felt when you first got that grade back in A&P or chemistry, and you realize, okay, this is not it. I knew I wanted to be a nurse. But then it begs the question, well, how bad did you really want it? Because if you really wanted it, why didn't you stick to it? Did you not stick to it because you realized it's not for you? Or did you not stick to it because you realized it was hard and you didn't want to put the work in, right? Same thing with lawyers. I came in knowing that I wanted to be a lawyer. Everybody knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. My classmates and the upperclassmen, they knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And so most of the people that was in my major, they were interested in, doing public relations, being a lawyer. And I remember I had a colleague where I looked up to this person, wanted to be a lawyer, never went to law school. And life happened, so I'm not sure what happened with, with the trajectory that she took. Like, I don't know. But I just know that I knew a lot of people that wanted to be lawyers when I was in college, and they didn't become lawyers. And so just imagine if that is your dream, like your absolute dream, and you really wanted it, and then like it didn't happen, but you sit at your job that you have now and you think about like, dang, when I was younger, I really wanted to be this. Why didn't you do it? And before you get there, before you answer that question, remember the time that you grieved over the fact that, man, like, I really didn't accomplish what I wanted. And it's not saying that maybe you're doing well now. It's not saying that you're settling. But just remember that it's okay to grieve over the things that didn't happen. And sometimes we do question God. If you believe in God, that, like, why didn't you make this happen for me? If you say you give me the desire, you give us the desires of our heart. And I want to be an athlete. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Why didn't it happen? And, you know, sometimes you go to church and like, maybe you're going to the altar to pray. And I just remember, like, for me, when I was, like, studying for the bar exam and I was unsuccessful, my family would tell me, like, well, hey, you know, you could do something else. I'm like, what? Why would I do something else? I went to school for all these years, and I'm not going to give that all up because I failed a test. But I know what that's like to grieve over that process when you realize, like, hey, like, this didn't work out for me. Like, why didn't it work out? And, you know, the church folks will easily say, you know, it's in God's hand. If it was meant to be, it's meant to be. When someone's grieving over something that they really wanted and it never happened, those are not the words that you tell somebody. They're not trying to hear that. If it's meant to be, it will be. No one's not trying to hear that. But what I think you can say is, well, if you realize that, hey, it didn't work out for you, where are you at now? Because it's a part of your journey. It's a part of your testimony. And even though you didn't accomplish the things that you wanted, you can help somebody else, right? You can live vicariously through them. So if you're an athlete and you never made it to pros, you could be a coach, right? You can instill so many lessons in a young child that they will carry on for the rest of their life. And you could teach them some things that your coaches taught you. Or let's say that, you know, you wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor and you took the necessary tests. And let's say that maybe you score high enough. You decided not to go. Maybe you didn't want to be in no debt. Who knows? I don't know. You can tutor somebody that's willing to take the same test, like LSATs for lawyers. You can help them prepare for the LSAT, right? So you can do things even though you didn't accomplish it. You can help somebody get over the bridge. Excuse me, my allergies are just like crazy. But yeah, you can help somebody get over the bridge, right? The last part is I had a conversation with my best friend, and she was like, we were just talking, we were just catching up, and it just felt good to talk to her. And we were just talking about life and, you know, just growth, honestly. And I said, you know, she was like, damn, like, you walked away from a good amount of people. I was like, yeah. And I said, but you know what? Just because I walked away doesn't mean I didn't hurt, because I did. And I said, that's the part that people forget about, right? And so if you walk away from someone you love, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a romantic partner. You walk away from them, yeah, and you love them, yeah, it hurts. I said, no one doesn't talk about that, right? Like, no one doesn't talk about that. Because let's say my friends, you know, got out of a bad relationship, they walked away from somebody. You know, you're around your girlfriends as a female, you know, they'll tell you like, hey, bitch, you're doing a good job. Bitch, you're doing a good job. And that feels good because they're hyping you up. And you're like, yeah, I did. I walked away from this family member. Yeah, I walked away from this guy. I walked away from this partner, whoever you fell in love with. I walked away from this person because they wasn't serving me. And your friends like hyping you like, bitch, you doing a good job. You doing a good job. We're going out for some drinks. You know, maybe you guys have a little get together at your house and it's like a crying session. You're letting it all out. And your friends keep saying, bitch, you doing a good job. You doing a good job. Or let's say if it's a guy, and let's say that some woman broke your heart. And your friends are telling like, man, I told you she was for the streets. She always been for the streets. Bro, there's other women out there, you know, go out there and have fun. And maybe you handle that differently and you cope with it differently. And your bros, if you're a guy, your bros tell like, you gonna be good, man. There's more bitches out there. They may tell you that, right? They may tell you that. Like, hey, there's more women out there like you good. Like, forget her, right? But people never talk about when you go home and you by yourself and you have those nostalgic moments. And they're good moments. Like, they're great moments. Like, man, like, remember we went to this place. Oh my God. Like, you turn on the TV, like, you know what? I'm not going to think about it. And then you turn on the TV, right? You turn on the TV and you're like, damn, this used to be our favorite show. No, right? And it's those moments where you question, did you make the right decision, right? It's those nostalgic moments where you sit and think, like, did I make the right decision, right? You second guess yourself, right? You second guess yourself and you ask yourself, okay, well, my mind told me that I did a good job. Like, my mind told me that I made the right decision, but my heart is not, it is not the same. Like, my heart doesn't feel that. My heart feels like it's shattered. My heart, I'm sad about this. Even though I know it's a good decision, I'm sad about this, right? Why do I feel sad when I made the right decision? No one talks about that, right? Like, I have male friends, and like, people never talk about that, especially with men. Like, no one talks about that. Like, even though men are supposed to be masculine and no feelings, like, men go through that too. Like, no one talks about that when you're sitting home and you say, like, damn, like, did I, you know, should I go back to her? You know, try to work this out because I invested time, right? Or a female, hey, should I go back because I invest in time? Like, my friend told me this, and I told one of my colleagues this yesterday. Like, I always wondered why. Like, when my friends try to talk to me about their relationship, I tell them, like, hey, I'm not here to give you advice because I think at the end of the day, you know exactly what you want to do. I don't care what nobody said. Like, sometimes you just need validation. So, regardless of what you're going through, like, I'm not here to give you advice. I'm just like, well, look at all the facts that are presented in front of you. Is this something that you can accept? You know this more than I do. I'm not there when you're having pillow talk. I don't know if you guys forgave each other. Like, I don't know, and it's none of my business, and I don't want to get into it. Nor do I want to talk about your partner, because let's say I say bad things about your partner and you guys get back together again, and now your partner hates me because I was saying things about them that may not have been true, but it was just based on the story that you conveyed to me. So I tell my friends, like, hey, you know, I'm a great listener. I'll listen to you, and when I'm listening to you, I want to know, like, well, do you want me just to listen to you? You want my advice? And my advice would be, well, hey, talk to your partner about this. Like, talk to them about this. But I said, at the end of the day, I can't tell you, like, to walk away. Like, you know exactly what you're going to do. Like, you know exactly what you're going to do. And so I always question, like, you know, I will always think about, like, why people stay if they're not happy, right? Why people stay? And love make you do crazy ass shit. Like, it make you say, like, damn, like, I'm with this person. Like, this person is, like, why am I staying? And honestly, like, I told you, like, I read articles about relationships and articles about healthy relationships. And then I have people in my life that have healthy relationships. And so I always question, like, why did they stay? Why did they stay? Why they just can't just get up and go? Leaving sounds so easy. It's easier than it sounds. Easy to just say, you know what? I'm going to pack my shit and I'm going to just go. It's easier said than done. But what I found, and I've talked to one of my cousins, like, I don't want to start over again. Like, I don't want to start all over again. My colleague asked me this, you know, well, why didn't you stay? Like, asked me about one relationship. Why didn't you stay? Or one of my girlfriends was like, why didn't you, like, you could have worked it out. I say, you get to the point where I know every type of relationship, it requires work. Friendships require work, you know, right? It takes two people to have a good friendship. If you're in a romantic relationship, it takes two people to have a good one. Not a perfect one, a good one, right? It takes work. Sometimes you may hate the person. I get it. You may not like the person. I get all of that, right? But what I said to my colleague, and I said this to one of my girlfriends, I said, yes, you can go back to the person and make it work. That's up to you. But I said, but when you realize that, you know, it's not always about investing this time. Because you can invest time in someone or something for years and you don't see it grow. And so I said, and I told my colleague this yesterday, I said, why keep putting all this labor into something and you don't see the fruits of your labor? So it's not time wasted, right? Because when you're with someone, it doesn't matter if you have a friendship, whatever, it's not time wasted. You get a chance to learn from that person. And a lot of times relationships bring out something in you. It's something for the good or something for the bad. Like, you learn from people because people are able to see things in you that you can't see in yourself, right? That's why I believe in partnership, whether it's platonic, romantic, like I believe in that. And so I told them that, hey, at the end of the day, like, you could put so much work in, you could do all this labor, but if you're not seeing nothing manifest out of that, grow out of that, why stick around? So that's my answer. Why stick around? But no one doesn't talk about that. Like, it's hurt when you walk away from someone that you love. Like, that hurts bad. It's not easy. And I don't care how strong you are. And people may say, oh yeah, like I know that I did this and I know that this was the best decision. But it's those moments where you're home by yourself or you're in a place where you're having your idol and you don't have nothing to think about. Your mind just goes, oh, do you remember the time? And you just start thinking about the things that have happened and you question, like, damn, did I make the right decision? Right? Did I make the right decision? And someone asked me, like, well, how do you know you made the right decision? I said, because their absence, I can still miss them, but their absence doesn't bother me. And I have peace. And I have more happiness. That's how I know I made the right decision, if that makes sense. And so I was talking to my girlfriend, my best friend. And I was like, I came to the conclusion in my life where I realized that I have an older sister and we would never have a relationship. And it took a very long time for me to say those words out of my mouth. I knew it for a while. I think my family knew it, but their idea, well, you guys are sisters, like, you guys should just be cool. Just because someone's related to you doesn't mean you need to have a relationship with them. I tell my aunts this all the time. Just because I have a lot of cousins, I have a lot of cousins, I have a lot of family, I have a huge family. Just because we're related doesn't mean we need to have a relationship. Like, let's make that clear. And I told my best friend, I said, that was hard for me to say. That was hard for me to utter those words out of my mouth. That me and my older sister would never have a sister relationship. We would never have it. And I know that never is a strong word, but we won't. And I realized that throughout my life, even though I'm the younger sister, I've been the bigger sister all the time by being a bigger person. And I got tired. And it goes back to this idea of, you're putting so much labor into something to see if it grows. And nothing doesn't sprout. That's like me, I'm a horrible plant mom. Like, horrible. Like, I'm not the best. I'm trying to become better. And when I'm not consistent with watering my plant, the leaves start to droop. And that shows me that it needs water. It needs my attention. Right? Same thing with relationships. Like, you have to water it for it to grow. But when there's only one person watering the relationship, one part may sprout and the other part may droop. Like, you just have a lopsided plant. Who wants that, right? And we all go through our experiences in life and it shapes us. And I get that. And I tell my friends, like, hey, if I realize that, we're not communicating as much, but I know that you're going through something, like, I would never hold that against you. I know that sometimes when people are battling with something, whatever it may be, sometimes they need to take this path alone. And I'm the type of friend where if I know you got to take this path alone, I'm just going to cheer you on the sideline. And when you're ready to come around, hey, I'm here. It's not going to change. But no one talks about that, right? No one talks about when you, like, that feeling that you have when you walk away from somebody. Like, no one talks about that. Like, yeah, you could go to therapy and you could talk about, I decided to do this. And, again, it's back to this whole cheerleading. Like, people are patting you on the back. But how do you cope with when you're by yourself? and you're questioning, did I make the right decision, right? And sometimes when you're questioning if you make the right decision, it's this idea of, well, I can know if I made the right decision if I have closure, right? I just need to hear what this person has to say. Like, why did they do this and why did you do that? And honestly, you give yourself permission to give yourself closure. Like, you don't, in my opinion, I don't think you need it from the other person. Sometimes people will do stuff to you that will really hurt you, and they don't care. Like, they don't care. They don't care if it hurts you. Sometimes they mean it intentionally, sometimes they mean it unintentionally, but sometimes they just don't care. And so when you're looking for closure, you got to ask yourself, well, what does this closure look like? What are you expecting this person to say? Are you expecting this person to say, I'm sorry, to help you like move on and help with the healing process? Or can you give yourself the own closure and say, hey, you know what? Even though this hurts and it hurts bad, eventually my heart and my mind will be aligned and I don't have to question this anymore. I don't need to wait on and see what this person has to say. Like, what are their last words? They may not have none. And I have to deal with that. Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, sometimes we want people to say I'm sorry for things that they have done. But some people will never give you an apology. And so you have to sit there and say, you know what? I forgive myself. Forgive myself for the things that have transpired. And, you know, I've learned from it. I forgive this other person because, yes, at the end of the day, hurt people do hurt people. And so when you're going through things and people hurt you, sometimes they're hurting within. And so my prayer that I pray is that the people that hurt me, honestly, I don't want nothing from them. I don't want to seek any revenge on them. I just want them to heal. That is my prayer, honestly. Like, I wish you well. Like, I want to see you successful in whatever endeavor that you choose. Like, I want to see you successful. Because now, if I have all this pain and hurt and I don't want to see you succeed, it says a lot about me. Because forgiveness is not for the person, it's for you. And so even though like this grieving process and you second guess, like, did I make the right decision? Once your heart and your mind is aligned, I think that's when you're able to accept your decision and accept the fact that you may not get closure. You may not get what you want. You may not get that apology. You may not get that, can we talk again? Can we figure out what went wrong? Like, you may not get that. And it's one of those things where you have to be okay. But yeah, it is a grieving process. People think you grieve when somebody dies. No, you grieve when you lose a job. You grieve when you lose a career. You grieve over walking away from a loved one. You grieve over all those things because it's the loss of something or whatever it is. But the closure that you need from all of that is just knowing that, hey, I did make the right decision. Now I'm just going through the emotions. And that can take time. And that's okay. That's okay. That's all that I have. It is May. It is Mental Health Awareness. And there was someone in the chat that said more men need to seek therapy. I agree. So I'm big on therapy, huge on therapy. And how do you know that you're okay? Like, and if you don't feel okay, that's absolutely okay. But the question is, are you willing to get help? I asked a family member that struggled with anxiety. And I said, well, you know, it's easy. You know, you take blood pressure medicine, keeps your blood pressure down. And anxiety is something that you can't control. But why not deal with it when you can get help from it? And so if you are going through something, whatever it is, I'm not a therapist. God knows I'm damn sure not a doctor. I have a Juris Doctor. I'm not a doctor of medicine. But if you realize, like, hey, sometimes I don't feel okay. Sometimes I do feel sad. And sometimes I just don't know why I feel this way. I pray that you get the courage to seek help. Like, I pray that you get the courage to find someone to help you. Because life is not easy. But I can tell you that when you do feel good, everything around you is good. When you wake up and you like what you see, and you're happy with what you see, it makes life better. And so I do pray that you do get help. So it is Monday, and I like to shout out to all the dope men out there. Like, just keep doing your thing, and just know that it's okay not to be okay. Like, I tell my male friends, like, hey, be gentle with yourself. And they appreciate that. Like, hey, be gentle with yourself. Like, hey, you are amazing, and just never forget that. And more people need to hear that, especially more men. You need to hear that you are appreciated. You need to hear that you're loved. You matter. Like, you freaking matter. Not just on Monday because it's Man Crush Monday, but you matter every single day. And everybody that's watching this, just know that you matter and that you are just really amazing. That's all I have. I hope that you guys have a great day. I hope that you guys have a great week. And if last week wasn't as good, I know that this week will be amazing. Like, freaking amazing. So that's all I have, guys. Have a great day and happy Monday.